Hey guys, today I'm here with Smittybilt XRC rear bumper fitting all 87 to 06 TJ and YJs. This is going to be for you guys looking for some solid rear end protection as well as an aggressive off-road look while coming with a couple of different benefits like recovery points and the option to add a swing-away tire carrier. This won't be your most expensive option on the page, but this is going to be moderately priced compared to the others at roughly $450, but that lies in the quality of the build and the design of the bumper overall. Install will be a strong 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter because there is a little bit of drilling involved. However, it's nothing you can't do in your driveway in about 2 to 3 hours. So speaking of the install, let's jump into that now.
The tools that we use for this install are a drill, a small pry bar, a 3/8 inch drive ratchet, a center punch, a smaller drill bit for a pilot hole, an 18mm swivel, an 18mm deep socket, a 16mm deep socket, a 16mm shallow socket, a 3-inch extension, a step bit, and an impact wrench.
So before we take off our bumper, we do need to take off our tow hitch. So there's going to be 2 bolts holding those in, and you can use an 18mm socket. After we've taken off our tow hook, we can finally remove our rear bumper. There's going to be 2 bolts on either side holding it in, and I'm going to be removing them with a 19mm socket. Because this body mount is right here, you may have to use a 19mm wrench to get off this nut. After removing those 4 nuts, there will be 2 bolts on either side holding up the bumper. I'm going to be using an 18mm socket. So now that we're over at the other side, the exhaust will be in the way, so I'm using an 18mm swivel. Now we can remove our rear bumper. So in order to mount up our new Smittybilt bumper, we will have to drill 2 new holes in the rear frame cross member. This is going to double the amount of bolts holding on your bumper, so your Smittybilt bumper will be a lot stronger than the stock one. So Smittybilt actually provides you a drilling template for your rear frame cross member. You want to make sure that these 2 outside holes will line up with your stock mounting holes and that the notch is at the top. This is going to be used for either side. So when you do line it up, I would recommend taking one of the bolts you took out of your stock bumper and putting it in this bottom mounting hole just so you can keep it in place while you're marking your drill holes. So once that's in place, it'll keep it sturdy enough and aligned. So once you have your drill template held in place by that 1 bolt, we can mark where we need to drill. So then we can just take our bolt out and move over to the other side. And again, you just want to make sure that you flip this over so on the other side the notch will be facing the top. You can put it in place. Just bolt it up to hold it in place. We can mark up where we need to drill. After they're marked,
and take that away.
After we marked where we want to drill our holes, we can center punch them. After the holes are center punched, we can get ready to drill. I highly stress that the gas tank is right here, so you have to be very, very careful when you are drilling. I'm gonna start with a smaller drill bit and work my way up to a 7/16 inch drill bit to allow our bolts to go through. Now, to keep your drill bit cool, I would recommend using a lubricant like PB Blaster or WD-40. So now that we have two decent sized holes, what I'm gonna do is use my step bit and drill this out to the 7/16 inch mark. Now with that, I would highly recommend using a lubricant because you do not want to burn out your step bit. So after you went one step up, you can check. We're gonna need to, right now we are at 3/8 of an inch. We need to jump up to 7/16. What I also like about the step bit is that it's a little bit safer compared to a regular drill bit. This is gonna be a lot longer, so you don't have as much of a chance hitting your gas tank. So we're at 3/8 of an inch, one more step. And there are 7/16 inch holes. After the center punch are punched, we can drill our pilot hole. After our pilot holes are drilled, we can drill with our step bit. So because we drilled and we exposed bare steel on the rear frame cross member, I would highly recommend to paint those over so you don't have any rust. So just make sure that you're painting over all of the bare steel, and to protect from overspray, just use a piece of cardboard or a piece of paper to protect your tailgate. So now with the help of a friend, we can mount up the rear bumper, starting with the inner holes that we just drilled out. So now that the XRC bumper is most of the way mounted up, I wanted to show you guys a quick comparison between what you're getting out of this new bumper and your stock bumper. To begin with, I mean, you're getting a huge upgrade in aesthetics with an off-road look, and you're getting a lot more coverage around the rear end compared to your stock bumper, which is pretty thin, and actually to a lot more bumpers that we have on the page being Smittybilt's premium series. Along with being a lot more aesthetically pleasing than the stock bumper, this is also going to have a lot more durability. It's made of 3/16" cold rolled steel with a black powder coat finish, so it's going to be able to take a hit on the trail, and it's going to resist any rust or corrosion getting to the metal. Another thing that the stock bumper was unable to give you were any recovery points. Your new XRC bumper is going to have 2 welded D-ring mounts as well as a Class 3 tow hitch for recovery. So enough talk about our stock bumper, let's finish mounting up our new Smittybilt XRC rear bumper. So this step is going to be really hard to see, but the 2 holes that I drilled before, we're going to mount up that inner hardware. So you're going to take your bolt, lock washer, and washer and bolt those in, and then you can tighten that down with a 16mm socket. These are going to be really hard to reach. If you would like an easier reach, you can drop your gas tank, but that is a little bit involved, so we are just going to do our best. So after you get all 4 inner bolts tightened down, we can go ahead and remove these 2 outer bolts that we originally had there to secure the bumper up in the air. The reason that we have to take those 2 outer bolts out is to sandwich this bracket in between, as well as bolt this other bracket on the outside to increase the rigidity of your rear bumper. However, I would like to mention that you will be using this on the YJ models, but if you are installing this on a YJ, you will not be using this bracket. So you're going to be using this nut plate to bolt it inside the frame as well as to the bumper on the other side, and I would also like to mention that these will be side specific. So I would recommend bolting up the frame side first and then moving over to bolting it up on the bumper. Then you can use an 18mm socket and tighten those down. You can tighten these bolts down with a 16mm socket. So after our first reinforcement bracket, we can go ahead and install our second. We're going to use a similar nut plate to bolt into the frame and then to our bumper. So let's get the nut plate lined up here. So after you loosely installed the bolt on the nut plate, we can go ahead and bolt it into the back of the bumper. So after you loosely installed the bolt on the nut plate, we can go ahead and bolt it into the back of the bumper. The trick is to bolt it into the frame first. So now you can repeat the process on the other side. So you can take your bracket and your nut plate and bolt that up. So we have two bolts in the back that will bolt into the bottom of the rear frame cross member in the stock location. So you can thread those in and tighten those down with an 18mm socket. Because this rear bumper will accept the Smittybilt heavy-duty rear tire carrier, there is a hole in the bumper for the spindle to go through. However, if you're not installing it at this time, Smittybilt does provide a plate to cover that and hardware to do so. So that's it for my review and install. If you have an 8706 TJ or YJ, and if you're looking for some solid rear end protection as well as a ton of functionality, you can check out the Smittybilt XRC rear bumper right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.